What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Mid-Level Media channel, your hub for everything physical media and entertainment. I am Ken, and guys, we have got to talk about this Roadhouse 4K that was just released by Vinegar Syndrome. This came out at the end of November. I pre-ordered this when they first put it up. I actually did an entire video when this was announced. This is a big deal. This is a big title for Vinegar Syndrome to put out. So I was super excited for it. And man, did this, we'll talk about it, man, did this deliver like I did not expect it to deliver. But yeah, Roadhouse on 4K. This is a part of their, the Vinegar Syndrome VSU line. I don't know if you guys can see that right there. The VSU line, this is number 4 in that line. They've done Cloak and Dagger, 6 String Samurai, and also Beastmaster. And if you're not familiar with this line, this is, you know, a line from Vinegar Syndrome, but it's just like really, this is some of the best packaging in the business. So just this really elaborate packaging with this, that's sealed magnetically, like you open it up, it's like a magnet. I'll do a little unboxing towards the end of the video, but it's just a great line with great packaging as part of Vinegar Syndrome. It's like a specialty, a special edition, like box set line. Like they have their box sets, but then they have these like super duper special edition box sets, and that's what the VSU line is. We're going to be talking about this. We're going to be talking about the movie. This was a first time watch for me. I'd never seen Roadhouse before. So I imagine that most of you guys are going to go ahead and click off the video that I told you I haven't seen Roadhouse. You're going to be like, this guy hasn't seen Roadhouse. Get the hell out of here. I'm not watching this guy talk about this. We're going to talk about the movie. Okay, my first time watch of this movie, my first experience with Dalton, Patrick Swayze's Dalton, and Roadhouse. And then we're going to talk about the 4K. We're going to talk about the special features. Vinegar Syndrome actually added quite a few new special features to this. But yeah, before we do that, like, comment, subscribe, turn on the bell notifications for all future videos. We talk about physical media on this channel all the time, every single day. If you like that kind of stuff, 4Ks, Blu-rays, owning the movies that you love, definitely consider hitting the subscribe button. Look, I got to put this down. I'm going to open this up. It's getting heavy. Like, this is a heavy release. And I do like to hold the movie when I talk about it. I don't know. I'm just weird like that. So let's hold the actual, like, the case, the Vinegar Syndrome 4K case that's inside the packaging. Super cool. It's so cool. But anyway, let's talk about the movie. This is a movie that came out in 1989. This was directed by Rowdy Harrington, and I was looking at his filmography. I'm not that familiar with anything in his filmography. I think I've heard of the movie Gladiator before, but I've never seen it. So Rowdy Harrington, I have not seen any of his movies before. This came out in 1989. It's a movie that I've grown up knowing about. Like, I've always known of Roadhouse. It's definitely been referenced by a lot of people. It is a pop cultural phenomenon. Like, everybody knows Roadhouse. I've known people in my real life that I've met, that I've worked with, that's name is Dalton, and their parents named them that because of this movie. So that's how important this movie was when it came out back in the 80s. So I've known about this movie my whole life. Starring Patrick Swayze as the character of Dalton. You have Kelly Lynch in this movie as the character of Doc, and Sam Elliott, which I did not realize he was in this movie until I started watching it, and he got to Sam Elliott, and I'm like, is that Sam Elliott? He had long hair. I'm not used to Sam Elliott having long hair. So that was super cool. He plays the character of Wade Garrett, but also we got Terry Funk is in this movie. Chainsaw Charlie, which I used to be a huge pro wrestling fan back in the day. Yeah, Roadhouse. Let's talk about my first time watch and experience with Roadhouse. I have to say right off the top, what a fun 80s movie. Now, there are some 80s movies that I'll go back and watch for the first time, like The Lost Boys. Again, no shade towards The Lost Boys. I enjoyed the movie quite a bit. Like Fright Night. Like, I've watched a lot of 80s movies for the first time this year, like Goonies. And I feel like some of those movies, like, you have to have that built-in nostalgia to enjoy it, to really have it resonate with you. But there's something about this movie, I don't know, I just thought it was super cool, and I connected with it almost immediately. I was like, I don't know, I just love the tone. I love the vibe. Maybe it's Patrick Swayze. I'm just a huge fan of Patrick Swayze. I love him so much. So maybe Patrick Swayze has something to do with it, but I just dug the hell out of this movie. I love this movie, just the entire movie. And I did not expect this movie to escalate in the way that it does. Like, it's a movie about Patrick Swayze. He's a bouncer. He's like the best bouncer in the world or something like that. Like, he's like the manager of this like really prestigious nightclub. And somebody comes in and goes, I hear you're the best. you need to come to my club and help me clean it up because I just bought it. The club, the Double Deuce is the club name. It's on the back right there. So he wants him to come to his club and help him clean it up because it's a dirty club. There's a lot of like drug dealing and scheming and scandalous people involved in this club. There's a lot of people getting in bar fights every night. So he hires Patrick Swayze to come in and clean it up for him. And that's what he does. He comes in, he cleans it up for him. But the movie, I expected this movie to be kind of just more fun, more lighthearted. I knew it was going to have some seriousness to it, a serious tone to it. I knew there was going to be some bar fights and definitely some violence. Like I expected violence, but I did not expect the level of violence and action that we ended up getting in this movie. And I was here for it. Like I loved every second of it. I actually think it progresses kind of nicely. But I did not anticipate it to go to some of the places that it goes. By the time you get to the final act of the movie, you got full on like explosions every 5 minutes. You got Patrick Swayze. I feel like I've heard about this before and I didn't take it literally. Patrick Swayze literally rips somebody's throat out in this movie. And when I saw it, that really happened? He really did that? Because I've heard people talk about this. He literally grabs the guy's throat, rips it out. There is throat meat in his hands and the guy's bleeding out of his neck. It's ridiculous, but it's also super cool as well. So I loved everything about this movie. I love Kelly Lynch in this film. She is smoking in this movie as the character of Doc, and her and Dalton have great chemistry together in the film. So everybody has good chemistry. Everybody's super entertaining. I love when Dalton first comes into the club and he starts firing people immediately, and he's just this like no bullshit. He just has this no bullshit attitude. He's like, look, I'm here to clean this place up, and this is not business as usual anymore. I am here. I love movies like that. I love storylines like that. People come in and they turn a place around, and within like a couple of weeks, the place is like operating like a well-oiled machine. It's a professional bar and nightclub. And I don't know, I really dug this movie. This is a really good movie from the 80s that I've been missing out on like my entire life. As a movie, look, it's not the great, I'm not saying it's a masterpiece, but I'm just saying I love the movie. I'll give it a 4 out of a 5 though, because I really enjoy this movie. Now let's get into the transfer. Let me get into the transfer, and I'm gonna be, while I'm reviewing this movie, talking about the transfer, I'm gonna be also throwing a little shade towards some of the other boutique labels, some of the other like studios. I'm gonna be talking a little bit of shit towards some of the other people that are putting out 4Ks right now, because I'm telling you, look at me when I'm talking to you. Look at me right now through this camera right here. I'm just talking to myself right now, but I'm talking to a bunch of people that's watching. Look at me right now. Believe me when I tell you, this is one of the best, absolute best 4K restorations that I have ever seen. Like, this is the standard for 4K. Reminded me a lot of Reservoir Dogs. Reservoir Dogs was the standard for 4K as well, but it's up there with that. Like, honestly, like, it might be better. Like, this was so good. It blew my mind how good this restoration looked. And Vinegar Syndrome coming out the gates swinging with these 4K restorations. Pretty much every 4K that I've seen from Vinegar Syndrome thus far has delivered. None of them quite to the level of a Roadhouse yet. That is definitely top tier, but like everything I've checked out from them, from Dead Heat earlier this year, Amityville Horror looked beautiful. Texas Chainsaw 2. They've been doing great work. I'm getting ready to watch Freeway on 4K as well to see how that looks, but Vinegar Syndrome, dare I say, is doing better work with 4K than Arrow. And I thought Arrow was the 4K standard as far as like boutique labels, and they are slowly taking the crown away from Arrow. And when I think of great 4K transfers and boutique labels, I'm starting to think of Vinegar Syndrome, and I was not thinking that way a year ago. Like, to me, Arrow Video was the standard. I would want Arrow Video to do any 4K, any movie in 4K. Going forward, after seeing Roadhouse in 4K, Roadhouse in 4K is the gold standard. I want Vinegar Syndrome to do every 4K restoration. So this is a native 4K restoration with Dolby Vision, HDR10, and it was actually supervised by Ryan Emerson, who is the co-founder of Vinegar Syndrome. So they actually have their own team that's doing these 4K restorations. But damn, did this look good? Like this was so clear, like the clarity on this. Again, I say this a lot, but it looked like a movie that just came out. It looked that good. Like everything was just so clean and clear, and you could just see everything. The visibility was just outstanding. It was astonishing the way that this looked. Like you could just see everything. I imagine like you've never been able to see it before. Now there is a Blu-ray in this set. I did pop in the Blu-ray to compare the two, and the Blu-ray does look good. It's a 4K scan, but the colors on that one are definitely a lot duller, a little bit more muted in that Blu-ray. But when you watch this, like the colors on 4K with that HDR, like you are really seeing that high dynamic range to full effect, because the colors in this are, oh my God, just outstanding. Again, this is a club, so you have the neon lights. It's the 80s. You have the neon lights of the double deuce in the front. Inside, you got a bunch of lights, but everything looked great. Like all those colors popped, all the outfits popped. Patrick Swayze's glistening, muscly, oiled up body pops in 4K. I don't want this to be weird. That probably sounded weird. But I can't say. There's like I said, explosions in this movie. All that stuff looked great. There's plenty of great like outdoor scenery and just like great scenic moments in the film that all looked outstanding. Sam Elliott with the facial hair, the beard, and all the hair. You could see each individual like hair follicle. But the beard, Sam Elliott's beard just looked like so rough and grizzled. And it was such a great restoration. I don't know what else to say about it. Like it's flawless. Like there's not one bad thing, not one hole you could poke in this. And I wanted to talk about real quick, like what the difference is between a company like Vinegar Syndrome doing a restoration of Roadhouse, and what's the difference between a studio doing a restoration like Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Why can't that look as good as Roadhouse on 4K? Why can't they put the same level of care and detail into their releases that Vinegar Syndrome is putting into theirs? I don't know what the difference is. I don't know where the disconnect is. Maybe they take a little bit more time to do their restorations of Vinegar Syndrome and some of the other boutique labels like Arrow Video. Because again, I'm not trying to shit on Arrow Video. They still do great 4K restorations for sure. But damn, did this look good, and it just makes everybody else look bad. Like when you watch this movie in 4K, you're left wondering what is going on with everybody else. Like why can't everybody else do good work like this? Like Warner Brothers certainly does good work with their 4K restorations. They certainly have a high bar as far as their restorations for sure. I think Warner Brothers, above like all these studios, is probably the best, but also Sony does a really great job with their restorations as well. Universal does also, but it's like, they're good. Poltergeist was good. Lost Boys was good. Pulp Fiction was good, but they weren't that good. You know, the closest that comes to something like this to me was Lionsgate and Reservoir Dogs. Like that looked incredible. Like that was immaculate as well. But then you got Paramount with The Godfather. I thought the Godfather movies looked spectacular in 4K. Drive from Second Sight, like Second Sight's doing incredible work as well. But it really, honestly, like when you watch a transfer like this, it really just makes you feel bad about the state of physical media in 4Ks. And you're just like, why? It just makes everybody else look like shit. I'm going to be honest. It just makes every other studio and label look like shit. Why can't they do what Vinegar Syndrome did with Roadhouse? Like, I'm telling you, oh my God, like this is the standard. It is the gold standard for 4Ks as far as I'm concerned. Now, getting into the sound on this one, you do have a DTS HD Master Audio 5.1. Thought everything sounded great. The sound was incredible. Again, we talk about Dolby Atmos. I don't think that this is a movie that needed Dolby Atmos necessarily. You know, it has some really good action, like set piece moments with explosions and some good gunplay and stuff like that. But again, it's not a movie that really needed that Atmos setup. I think that 5.1 was just fine for it. And I thought everything sounded great. Like there's a lot of fight scenes, so you hear a lot of like punches and kicks and stuff like that. And all that stuff sounded great. I felt like I could actually like feel the punches and the kicks like through my subwoofer, my soundbar. So all that stuff sounded absolutely fantastic. So the 5.1 sound was great. It also has a 2.0 DTS Master Audio as well option in English, and it has English Dolby Digital 2.0 as well. So several audio options on this release. Now getting into the special features, and again, this is a 3-disc set right here. Gonna do a little bit of an unboxing right now while I talk about the special features, but this is a 3-disc set, so you do have the 4K with the movie, and I think there's an audio commentary, a couple audio commentaries on the actual 4K disc itself. Then there's a Blu-ray disc with the movie and also all of the new special features, which there are, I think, 5 new special features and interviews. And one of those commentaries on the 4K is actually with Kevin Smith, filmmaker Kevin Smith, and Scott Mosier. And you also get a Blu-ray with the film itself and 5 new special features and new interviews. So in this, in the 5 interviews, you get an interview with the Henchman #2, a brand new interview with actor, stuntman Anthony DeLongis. I Did It My Way, a brand new interview with 2nd Unit Director, Stunt Coordinator Charlie Picerni. Blonde Ambitions, a brand new interview with actress Laura Lee Caston. Fightin' Man, a brand new interview with actor Roger Hewlett. And Ain't Nothing Gonna Kill Me But Me, a brand new interview with actor Travis McKenna. So these are really nice special features, really lengthy special features with these actors and stunt coordinators. So it's, unfortunately, it's nobody big that was in the movie that you can actually recognize, just a bunch of like smaller, like secondary characters, but understandable. And, you know, Patrick Swayze no longer with us. Obviously, he couldn't be involved. But I would have liked to get somebody like maybe Kevin Smith would have came back and talked about this movie, like somebody a little bit more notable, because it really kind of felt like interviews with just a bunch of nobodies, but they were great interviews. Like they had great stories like involving the making of this movie. So I can't say they weren't good interviews. It's just not people that you recognize doing these interviews. So great interviews though. They were about 25 minutes. So this is like an hour and a half, like to 2 hours of new special features and interviews. So just absolutely fantastic. And again, you don't see this kind of stuff from studios. Like they are not taking the time to do interviews with anybody. Like they don't care who it is. They're not going to do any kind of interviews at all. They don't add nothing. And you got Vinegar Syndrome over here adding all of these new interviews and special features. And then on the Blu-ray disc #2, this is a disc that's all special features. You do have the, let's see, I Thought You'd Be Bigger, the making of Roadhouse. So you actually get a making of documentary of Roadhouse in here. You get a conversation with director Rowdy Harrington. So Rowdy Harrington is still alive, but I guess maybe he was just too old, didn't feel like coming back to say anything to speak on this movie now for this release. And you get Pain Don't Hurt, the stunts of Roadhouse feature. Pretty good for a blind white boy. The music of Roadhouse featurette. Remembering Patrick Swayze featurette. I would definitely like to watch it. I did not watch any of the stuff on the disc 2, Blu-ray disc 2. But this is all stuff that has existed before. Probably on the Shout Factor release and probably previous DVD releases. On the Roadhouse featurette, What Would Dalton Do? Patrick Swayze profile. So just tons of special features in the set. You get all these new special features. You get all the archival special features. Pretty much the same deal as what they did with Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part 2. But guys, I cannot recommend this 4K enough. I really can't. Now, right now, I will say you're not going to be able to pick this up through Vinegar Syndrome. Their site is going to be shut down until January because of all the sales and the stuff that they're going to have to ship out. They do shut their site down in December because of that. So you're not going to be able to order this 4K from their site right now. Now, it will be available on Amazon at some point. They always sell these from their site first, and then they make them available on Amazon in like a month or two. But you won't get this VSU box set. You'll probably end up just getting the standard 4K release, but it'll still have all the stuff in it. So it'll still absolutely be worth it. But if you want this box set, again, it's limited for sure. I don't know how much longer this is going to be available unless you get on eBay and pay the scalper prices and all that crap. You can probably still get on Orbit maybe, deep discount, and see if they have it on there at this time. But again, it's not available right now on the Vinegar Syndrome website because it is shut down. But guys, Roadhouse, however you get your hands on this, you have to own it, especially if you're a fan of the movie. You have never seen this movie look like this before. I promise you that. This is one of the best 4K releases of 2022. I would almost put my life, I would put my channel, I would put myself, every ounce of credibility I have, which is probably not much, I would put all that on the line on the for this transfer. Like, it is the best of the year, one of the best of the year, certainly top 3 of 2022. So thank y'all so much for watching my review. I was super excited to talk about that. I hope the passion came through in this video. The movie was super fun. I thought the transfer was incredible. So thank y'all so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Turn on the bells. Follow me on all my social media accounts down below, and we'll see you next time.